Well, welcome everybody to first day of class. Is this everyone's first class for the semester? I would think so, right? Because Monday class is canceled, so that was nice. Who is here for their first semester in the program?
I am.
Three of us, okay. Well,
I am.
welcome, Sarah too. Four. All right, well, welcome. I know this is typically a class that a lot of new students take, so hopefully it doesn't scare you away. It should ease you into it. We kind of have a good variety of things, right? Like it's not like you'll be drowning in writing papers. You won't be drowning in, presentations or quizzes or discussion boards. It's kind of just a good balance of everything I feel like in this class. I will just preface by saying we do have a group project in this class. And I don't think it's that bad at all. And it keeps improving every semester. And the reason why I like doing a group project in this class is because there's a lot of new students, and a lot of times people you meet in your group kind of become your support system, or you get to talk to them throughout the semester, or you work with them in other classes, or a lot of times students like really find someone they like and then they decide to take the same courses with them throughout the program and stuff. So I really think that you will find this group project to be very beneficial. So I just wanted to start with that. But let me just introduce myself real quick for those of you. I have a lot of you in the class that I've never had before. So thank you for taking a class with me. My name is Dr. Amy Watering, and this is my first year here at University of Tennessee. I started full-time in fall. I actually live in Arizona. So if you're ever wondering maybe why you might sometimes get a really late email from me, or I don't respond to an early email right away, it's probably because I might be 2 to 3 hours behind you depending on the time of year. So honestly, if it's ever like 11 p.m. your time and you're like, I gotta ask this question, probably a good time to reach me, right? I'll probably see it on my phone and be able to respond real quick. So never feel bad about sending an email at a weird time or anything like that. Let's see. I actually, for those of you who just hopped in, welcome. I am recording this. Didn't miss anything but me babbling pretty much and giving an introduction. So I actually, my bachelor's was from the University of Toledo, where a lot of you know Dr. Perrion. Her and I went to school together. We both got our PhDs together at University of Toledo in health education. So her and I have very similar training. We collaborate a lot on things. So hopefully you'll find the modules to be very similar to previous courses you may have taken with her. We try to keep things consistent in the program. So what I'm going to do is actually just share my screen and just go over how the course is going to look. I know it just opened. I'm going to walk through what modules will look like, what to expect for this course, things like that. At any time, please pause me and ask a question or put it in the chat. I do not mind at all. All right. Let's start by, can you see this now? I moved it over. Can you see the module? Thank you for those head nods. Well, all of you should have been able to do the module 0 already. If you have not, don't worry about it. There's nothing due in module 0 except for understanding the course a little bit better. I do want to bring this to your attention. I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened at the bookstore. I know for a fact I said adopt the books from last semester. It's that one-click adoption, and I know I did it. And now when I go in my courses, it shows no book history for any class I've ever taught. So I don't know what happened. I'm contacting the bookstore, but here's the good news. So if you weren't able to get a book this week, there's nothing due that requires you to have the textbook. What I will do is, reach out to me. If you're not able to get the textbook, what I'm planning on doing is just having summary modules in the like module 2 and 3, for those of you who aren't able to get the book right now, to basically see all the information you need to before you take the quiz. No one should do terrible because they're like, well, I wasn't able to, get the book in time. If you are struggling, if there's a reason you can't get the book by the second, third week, just reach out to me. I'm really flexible. We'll come up with a plan. But these are the 2 books that you will need for the class because we do have quizzes for it, but we can make it work if you're struggling. So if that's your biggest worry for the class, you're in great shape because it's nothing to worry about. We'll figure it out here. And then this is just a document that we'll use throughout the course. So go through module 0 if you haven't already, and that just basically has everything you need to know about the class for here. I like to make big assignments available to you right away. I know in some courses, and even in this course for some assignments, you might see Like for example, like your quiz will be available that week. You won't have a month to work on it. But for the big projects, I'd like you to see what you're supposed to do early because there's nothing worse. I always struggled as a grad student if there was like a really big assignment due and it gets released Monday morning and you have till Sunday night to do it and you're like, oh my goodness, it would have been nice to have an extra week or two to do this one. Like I have family coming in town or I got sick this week. So for the big projects, I have them all right here for you. But let me just preface, it might be really confusing, right? Because you might be looking through something that's due, May 15th, May 5th, and you're going, what on earth is this? And it might be because I didn't talk about it yet, because I don't want to overwhelm you by going over assignments in May, but it's just good to know that you have this on your radar. Like, for example, you have to complete an interview in this class with someone with a similar role to what you're assigned. I'll get to that later. But I think it's good to have that on your radar now, so it's not April 15th and you're trying to schedule an interview with someone at the end of the semester. So we'll go through a couple of these today. We won't go through all of them. But let me just start off by going over module 1, and then I'll go back to the big focus of this class. Okay, so click on to see everything you need. You're going to click on modules in this class right here, this button here if you're new to Canvas. Sorry if you've taken 100 courses before and this is repetitive, but I'm not going to read everything to you. You can go through it at your own time, but I'll always have the objectives, the course outline, kind of the celebratory where we're at, where we will be soon, and then what's due this week. Always check your syllabus, but it's always going to be here too. So you will have by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday to complete the 3 following things. Your syllabus quiz, which is worth 5 points, an initial posted discussion board. This is just more an introduction about who you are, how long you've been in the program, where you work, stuff like that, just to get to know your classmates better. And then this is just an additional discussion board going over the material for the week. So nothing too hard this week. We'll just easy win it there. Then you'll just click the next button. I have video for you to watch throughout the week. Here's an example of the discussion board. So a lot of you have done this already. Absolutely love the pictures. Thank you, Jessica. So this is fantastic, everybody. This is great. Yeah, so you guys are all doing it right. This is what I'm hoping to see there. And I think if you want to share pictures, or pictures of your animals, feel free to do that as well. What the quiz is, 5 points. For the quizzes in this class, I'm almost positive there's no time limit for them. So don't stress. You can answer 5 questions and then go eat lunch and come back, right? There's no pressure. I don't want you to panic. If you don't understand a topic and you see a question, feel free to read the book about it a little more, find a resource about it. So all the quizzes, no time limits. And this is just an easy one to get you ready for the class. You will find throughout the semester sometimes that there's some videos from Dr. Kathy Brown. She's been in the department for a really long time. She actually just retired, but she has some really good recordings from when she taught the class. So I just keep them here for you to watch to understand some topics a little bit better. So always feel free to watch these, but they're optional as well, just so you know that as well. Then here's the assignment that you're going to do this week. Fantastic. People already answering questions. But what you'll do, you'll read this paper right here, and then you'll just answer some of these questions. What is public health? What comes to mind for you? What does the governmental public health mean, or how does governmental public health maintain a healthy society in my country? Who are the key players? What does it mean to be a key player in the system? You can research this paper or read this paper, research on your own, find any other articles you want to add. Just if you are taking something from a website, please just have an in-text citation for that for your discussion board. I'm not going to be a stickler for citations in the discussion board, but make sure you are citing properly for your papers in the class. A good question that you might have is, well, how long do my answers have to be for this? Don't stress, don't feel like you have to write pages and pages or paragraphs and paragraphs, but 3 to 5 sentences should be suffice for what is public health. Public health is blah, blah, blah. This shouldn't be something very challenging to do there. Any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat or unmute yourself at any time. We're already here, January 23rd, so you knew that you're supposed to log in for the live session. And then there's going to be a summary. So what you see right here is very similar to what you'll see every week for there. Any questions, comments, or concerns about that? All right, well, then this is the fun part, and this is why I really wanted to meet tonight. So we do have a lot of assignments in this class, and I want you to be comfortable with them. So I want to just dive right into this one. All right, so we are working on this main assignment, and you're gonna have some individual roles for it, and then you're gonna have some group roles for it. So you're all gonna be assigned a leadership position per se. So some of you might be, assigned a manager of, a healthcare organization, or the CEO of a corporation, or a congressman or woman, or trying to think what else. Maybe you work at the health department, maybe you're an epidemiologist, things like that, right? You're all going to have an assigned role. These all were random. The in-person class has the same exact thing they do as well too. A lot of the assignments we have in this class are for our CEEP accreditation. So some of you might be like, well, why are we doing this? Well, in order for you to be in an accredited program, we have to have assignments and topics that match up to what CEEP requires for us to do to keep our accreditation, which is great to be at an accredited program, but some of the assignments you might be like, can we change this? This is a little strange. And unfortunately, some of them we can't really change, because in order to keep our accreditation, we have to keep this. So we're just going to work with it for who you are assigned for this. And good news is everyone's always found someone to interview. No one's ever really had a problem with their role. And if you do, we can switch your topic up a little bit. Again, very flexible, no big deal there. So let's move forward here. So this is the big final project that you're going to be working on throughout the semester. There's 4 groups. I have those roles. I think I uploaded them on Blackboard. If not, I'll share it right now, and I will have that for you to look at right now. So 4 groups. Each group has 4 to 5 people in it. I think it's a really good number for this class, because past semesters when other professors have taught it, they've had maybe like 3 people in a group, and then guess what happens? Someone in your group ghosts you, or someone drops a class. And there was one group that turned into a group of 1, and I just really want to avoid that. So if you are the group of 4 and you're like, well, I wish I had a group of 5, honestly, there's really not that much of a difference between being a group of 4 or 5 for this class. So what you're going to do, you're going to get together with your group, and I know the best way that I found that people have accomplished things is by having like a group text message or group me. Sometimes email communication is really good as well if you're sending stuff back and forth. Google Docs, things like that. Also, feel free to include me on emails too. I will preface by sharing this story. When my husband was in grad school, he was working on this group project. He was in an epidemiology course, and they had to write like a 15-20 page paper, something like that, as a group. And my husband was in this group with these 2 people who just didn't do anything right. And he was getting frustrated. And he just decided to communicate with the professor on it too. So each time he sent an email to the group, he would just CC the professor, here's my work. Are you doing this? We have this presentation. And I think he ended up writing 10 of the 15 pages. And he's like, I'm not writing anymore, right? Like, this isn't fair. And so he just like sent an email, here's my first 10 pages. I will be presenting these slides. Here we go. Guess what happened? So they ended up, it was actually funny. He was giving the presentation and they showed up late and were very confused about what was happening. And he was like, well, what do you think is happening? Like, you didn't reply to my emails, but guess what they did in their paper? The one lady in his class straight up plagiarized like the last 5 pages from like an article on a website. And of course the professor caught it, and they had to, go up for review with the dean, and the dean wanted to kick all 3 of them out of not of the class and fail them, but like to kick them out of the program. And he needed this as a last elective to get into CRNA school, and just by him having that email communication, his professor was able to go up to bat for him and say, look, Spencer wasn't a part of this. He did these 10 pages here. There's no plagiarism here. He shouldn't have to suffer for it. So the only way I know really is if you are being honest and you're like, I didn't do that, communicate with me. And you're going to have some worksheets to fill out in the beginning to kind of like, this class is about leadership, right? And communication and negotiation and strategy too. So I want you all to have an opportunity to be the leaders and decide, I'm going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And if somebody doesn't do their part, and I promise you, unfortunately, I've taught this class twice, and each year I have a group where someone just doesn't do anything. And I always know they don't do anything because the group always has a good leader and they share their communication and they assign this person roles. But if you don't assign them anything or communicate with them, I have no idea who did what, and unfortunately, there's not much I can do. But if I'm seeing that you reached out to them 25 times or they agreed to do something and it wasn't done, great, you're covered. You will not be penalized for your teammate not doing something. So hopefully that made you less scared, by just knowing, hey, I'll communicate and, make sure everyone knows what they're doing there. So what you'll do, you'll have your group, there'll be 4 or 5 of you, and you're going to pick, I'm gonna put right here, you're gonna, 1 second, we have chat. Are all the Zoom classes recorded? Yep, all the Zoom classes are recorded. I'm pretty sure I'm recording it right now. And I will have it on a YouTube link and I will have it in Blackboard for you and I'll let you know when it's ready. So yep, if you ever have to leave early or you can't attend, I know this class is at a weird time, 6 o'clock, and I know some of you might be rushing home from work or have kids or dinner time and stuff like that. So that's why this one is, they're all recorded, but I just thought it would be easier for some of you to have stat classes rather than 4 nights a week having class. So what you're gonna do, the first thing you and your team are gonna do is you're going to decide which of these 4 topics do you want. Do you want to focus on improving care for individuals with behavioral needs, improve access to care in rural communities, improve food security, or improve health outcomes for low-income populations? I want to say I've never had someone select number 1, but I've had groups select the other 3. So feel free to do whichever one you want. And the first thing that you're gonna do as a group, this is not due for a few weeks right now, but you're going to create a PowerPoint slide and you're gonna talk about what topic you selected, so just your title slide, what your focus is, the rationale. So what is the problem and how are you gonna address it and why will it work? So that's gonna just kind of be the first thing you and your team focus on. Then later on in the semester, once we get that, we'll focus on what's the vision, what's your mission, what do you value as a group, what are your objectives? So you highlighted the things that you want to happen, but what are your SMART objectives you're gonna use to make sure it happens, right? And then the last thing we'll have with this one, I believe there's one more thing you have to do with your group. Actually, that's not true. There used to be a group paper you had to write, but you're welcome. I scrapped that. We do not do that anymore. You just have a group presentation. So do you have any friends who took it over the summer? In 8 weeks, they had to write like a 15-page paper and give a presentation. So you all just have to do a presentation now because it was very repetitive. So, and then what you'll do, you'll just give a 10-15 minute presentation on what your topic is, and they're always so fun. Like when people come together and see the big picture about like, this is the problem area, these are the policies we're gonna enact, this is why we're doing it, this is who we're gonna help, this is what we hope to have happen. And so that's gonna be the final presentation, which is in May. And that one is mandatory. I'll give the date for you. If you can't make it for some reason, reach out to me now. Okay. So this is where I'm going to share with you the roles. I do have it up for you all. Okay, so this is completely random. It was in alphabetical order, then some people added late and things like that. So what I'm gonna do is, if you could just remember what group you're in, because I'm gonna stop my share after everybody knows what group they're in, and so you can just see who's in your group right now. So this will be group 1, the green group right here. There's 5 of you. I kind of just like the E and M names, how that just flew. Margaret, Marissa, and Martha, like how perfect. Then Emily and Elizabeth. So you all will be in a group together, and this is your assigned role. So what that means for your assigned role is, you're going to, so say Elizabeth, right? You're the epidemiologist. You are going to just pretend you're an epidemiologist the whole entire time. So you're gonna like look through the lens of an epidemiologist. So your individual assignment that you will start with is researching what an epidemiologist does, what degree they need, what they do. And so say you choose food insecurity, how would an epidemiologist help with food insecurity, right? So like, you're not just being, Elizabeth, the MPH student, you're an epidemiologist in the field, and you have to come up with ways that you would help with this topic. And some are going to make more sense than others. And that's why we have a barriers and limitations slide at the end that you can do. You could be like, well, I'm the CEO of an organization and I didn't really have a lot of time to go out in the community and do this, where, trying to think of someone, I think I had, okay, so say you are the executive director of a mental health organization and you're doing Desiree, that's what you're doing, and then you are doing food insecurity, and you might be like, it was a little bit of a crossover because I usually work in this realm, but this is what I was able to bring to the table as a mental health organization director. So it's just kind of showing what it's like in the real world when there's all these public health people with different titles coming together at like a coalition or maybe a grant project to work on something. So sorry, so there's green and this pinkish orange, whatever this is. You can see your name, group 1, group 2. Group 3 and group 4, you can see right there then as well. Okay. So I'm going to stop my share right there so I can see you all. So if you were in group 1, do you mind raising your hand? So people can see, okay. Thank you for those who were able to turn your camera on. Okay, so this is what I've done in the past, and you let me know what works best for you. So usually what the class has opted for me to do, would you just like me after class? I do teach another class right after this, so it probably come later tonight or tomorrow. Send an email like group 1, and I'd include all group 1 in the email and just like, hey, here's the recap of the okay, here's the recap of the project. Here's the 4 choices that you can pick. Continue to comment on this email chain or send each other your phone numbers or create an app. I don't know, whatever app people use these days to stay in touch. But okay, so that's what I'll do. I feel like that's the feedback I'll be getting. So let me write this down so I don't forget. Okay, so group 2, if any of you want to raise your hand for that, you can put some name to faces. Okay, perfect. Group 3. Okay, wonderful. And then group 4. Okay, great. Again, someone in your group might not be here today because these classes are not mandatory, but just want to let you know who's in your group for that. Anything else I can do to help you for this class? Would it be helpful? Last semester, I created a Teams account for this class, and it was just a way for people, like if they found like an article they wanted to share with the group, or maybe they're struggling with a question, or for example, we do a health comparison worksheet in the class, and someone might be like, I'm kind of like, you have to find your own data, and it's like, I'm kind of struggling to see, the Medicaid, Medicare information in the state of Tennessee. Does anyone have a good website they want to share? Or, someone finds something, would it be helpful to have a Teams account for this class, or would it just be overwhelming? Are you already in too many Teams accounts? Is there already too much? What would be beneficial for you? Would anybody not want one? Like, I have too much. All right, then I will make one, and you don't have to use it if you don't want it. So how's that? I will create a Teams account as well. I personally just think it's helpful too on my behalf, because sometimes a lot of you might have the same question, and so it's just a good way for you to write it in the group, and then I can respond that way, and everyone can see it. Or you might feel less alone, like having other people comment back. Okay, perfect. Any other questions before I start talking about other assignments about this project or anything like that? Are we all good? Okay, all right, thanks. All right. So another thing that we will do, I zoomed in a lot for that real quick. Okay, so let's go back to modules real quick. So remember, also this is why I think the Teams account is going to be very beneficial. Remember how I just showed you all what your role is going to be? I think it was right here. Yeah, remember how I just showed you all what your role is going to be? That interview assignment that's going to be due May 5th, you are going to interview someone with your job title. Some might seem easy, some might seem hard. Some of you might like, oh, perfect. My mom's an epidemiologist and that's what I have. Or, oh, this is fantastic. My cousin's a policy analyst, or my best friend is, or, something like that. So if you have that, by all means, like, look through the list, and if you're able to help somebody, maybe you're like, oh man, that would be really hard for someone to find a CEO in a position of healthcare, right? But I know somebody who's willing to let someone in the class interview them. I'm going to share their information. Or maybe you're struggling and you're just like, oh my goodness, I really don't know, a local government official, right in the teams group. Hey, does anyone have any connections or know someone I should possibly reach out to? And I think it's just a really good way. It was actually great the first time I taught this class, like the discussion board was just blowing up and people were sharing emails and contact information. And I think people just felt like less scared and less alone for this. So keep that in mind. If for some reason you are striking out, I won't say what the position was last semester because I really think the student could have found someone, but they were panicking, they weren't able to do it, they were reaching out and they were in contact with me like all semester, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This person's canceling their Zoom, or I can't get a hold of someone, like, I'm gonna fail the class. I'm like, no, you're not gonna fail the class. Still remain that role throughout the semester. But is there anyone on the list that you would like to interview? And they're like, oh yeah, I know someone, emergency management operations officer. Great. That's who you conduct an email with them, but still just stick with your role throughout the semester. It's not so much that like you're married to it. It does have to be randomly assigned for safe accreditations. So let's try to help each other if we can, do the best we can, and then if all else fails, we'll find somebody else to interview. That's why you have plenty of time to work on this. So don't get scared if you're like, I literally think I got the worst one on the list. Because a lot of people might be thinking that too. And that's why it's great. Like, we all come from different backgrounds, know different people, and we can figure it out there. Okay. So let's then go to, I just want to share a couple more things. I'm not going to overwhelm you. Um, so, whoops, I think I just skipped it right there. Okay. So this is going to be the first main assignment that you're going to do. And this is individual. So feel free to get started on it today if you want to. I don't know one's that eager, but maybe you are. Oops, 1 second. Sorry for that. I have a son who's 13 months old and I heard something at my door and it's like, is he okay? He's all good. Just very active right now. So what you're gonna do, you have your role that I just showed you right there, and you're going to write a 2 to 3 page paper. And you're going to talk about what is the typical educational background for your assigned role. So someone who's a, health professor, what is their typical education? So, typically you have to have a PhD or a DRPH. If you're in an MPH program, it's preferred that you have a CHES certification. You have to do an internship to get your MPH. Typically you do. A lot of times people want you to maybe have teaching experience as a TA or a research assistant, things like that. So that's what you would, write about just for the background right there. Question I always get to is you should be citing this. There's plenty of websites that will show you that will give you all the answers you need to know for this, right? So if you're really confused on what your job role is, great. Google's a wonderful thing. You will find all your answers there, and it's okay if it's like a website you're not going to find this in a peer-reviewed journal article, right? So you're going to rely on websites and things like that. How many years of experience do they need to get this role? Do they have to have a specific job or internship before moving up to this position? Some of them might, some of them might not. You're typically not going to graduate with a bachelor's degree and become CEO of a company, right? If you're starting it up your own, but maybe if you're just like a health educator, like, there's a lot of jobs you can just get with a bachelor's. There you go there. You can combine a lot of this too, because some of it connects together. Is this an upper management role? Is this a leadership role? What's kind of their role and responsibilities? Do they oversee people? Do they direct? What are their job duties? What are they responsible for? These are just things that you're gonna add. Like, it doesn't have to be paragraph, paragraph, paragraph. Just these are things you want to address in your paper right there. What's the stakeholders' role? So who are they who are they accountable to? So are they accountable to people in the community? Are they accountable to people higher up? Are they accountable at the local level, the national level, at an organization, a university, to who do they serve? So these are just things that you're gonna address in your paper. If it's not something that you know right off the top of your head, please cite it. So then after you do that, and this is all in the 2 to 3 page paper, so you don't have to write, 3 pages there and then do this, but this part's gonna be short. So this is where you're going to identify who you potentially think you can interview for this assignment. So let me go back up real quick. I don't think I have it right here, but this is, due in a couple weeks. So please start to think about who you're going to interview. And the good news is, say you find someone, they're great, and then they cancel on you. I'm not gonna go back and be like, oh man, well, Megan said she was gonna interview this person and she changed her interview. Like, no good, right? It's okay. Probably about like 20-25% of people end up changing who they interview because life happens, right? Or they find somebody else. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna give me an idea to show me that you're moving forward with this. Who's the actual person that you plan to interview? And they can be in the state of Tennessee, they can be in the state you live in, it really doesn't matter. So don't panic, like, I don't live in Knoxville, or I don't know anyone in Knoxville. That's completely fine. Don't worry about that. Reflect on who you know in the community. And then that way you can maybe brainstorm who knows who, or ask somebody there, or help somebody out in the class. Just remember that this is individual, it is graded, and I think I have examples for everything you will do in this class, except for the health comparison table, because students always try to trick me every semester. They're like, can we have an example of it? And it's like, no, because you're comparing the state of Tennessee to the US. If I give you an example, like, they're all gonna be the same. So that's really, I'll show you real quick. And if you're super sneaky, you can maybe like take a picture of it, but that's gonna be something, that's the only one where I don't think I give you an example for this. So this student, for example, interviewed a policy analyst in 2023. They did a very good job on this. This will load. So as you can see, they just had, their title page, gave information about a background, what it is to become a policy analyst. They have their citations there. You can read this all in your own time. Experience needed, their role, responsibilities, and then see right here, they just had this little section, who they plan to interview. This is their email address. This is where they work. And that was just 2 pages right there. They did fantastic, had their reference list, got a 25 out of 25. So this assignment here shouldn't be too hard, but it's just getting you thinking like a policy analyst, or thinking like an epidemiologist or CEO there. Any questions, comments, or concerns about that one? Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so I don't want to scare you too much. I do just want to make you aware of that one. Let's see. So then here, say you're like, oh, this is perfect. I want to just do this one before May 5th, so I don't even have to think about it. I have it available right here for what the interview will actually look like. So you're more than welcome to ask your own questions, or you can use the interview guide I have here. Feel free to modify them, delete some, add your own, whatever you want, but just be mindful that these people are working, they're taking time out of their day to interview you. So please don't show up with like 40 questions that they probably never want to, conduct an interview with this class again. So here's just some questions here. And one thing I did add this semester is to just, if you are able to, could you, and your questions you ask them, could you ask them like, do you mind going on a list for future students if for this assignment if they need someone to interview? Because I would love to, I just thought of it this semester, like have a list and I could compile of like, 3 policy analysts or 3 CEOs or this. So like if people are panicking, I have a list of people who can contact. So if that's something like your last question, like, do you mind being open for other interviews in other semesters? See if they just say yes or no for that. Because then it would be easier for me to not bombard someone who really isn't looking to do it. So feel free to do it through Zoom, feel free to do it in person, whatever is easiest for you there. Okay. Any questions about that? I must just be really good at explaining stuff. And then that's all I really want to talk about for today is the role description that you're gonna do. February 11th is when it's due. So That's 2 weeks from now? No, 1, 2, that's 3 weeks from now. So plenty of time to work on that one. And then your first project with your classmates in the group you're in is going to be due February 25th. And I'm gonna go over one more thing after this. So you're just gonna create a PowerPoint slide. And I do encourage you to really take time on this one, because if you do it right and it looks nice, guess what? You can use it for your final presentation too. You just can add on throughout the semester, right? Like, because you're gonna explain to the class all this stuff. So just think of it as like, I know in a lot of classes in this program, we like build on programs and assignments. So for this, we're going to just kind of build on this PowerPoint presentation. And let me just share an example here with you. So I love examples. It just eases your mind. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So here's an example from a group last semester, or it would have been over the summer. And it's just 5 simple slides. I don't know how much more I can say about this while it loads. There we go. All right. So they just have the title, initiative draft, group 3, and then they put their names. Focus, improving access to care for rural communities, specific focus, Eastern Tennessee's. Ideally, it might be nice to have like a little image or something like that there. This one has a lot of information on it. And I don't want to overwhelm you, but the reason why theirs was so heavy was because this was an example from the summer, because they took a lot of this and put it in their paper. But one thing I do want to, this probably wasn't the best example. I'm probably gonna scrap this one. We want to be to the point on PowerPoint slides, right? So you can condense. I'm gonna close out of this one. This one isn't my favorite. I think I clicked on example 1. This one's okay. This one's a lot better. Well, I'm gonna probably remove the other one. I think that was the only one I had from when I taught it over the summer. So this has their initiative draft, their names, what their focus is. Yes, this is more what I'm looking for here. So their solution for one was telehealth, and they just basically explain what it is, what they plan to do. Next one, mobile care clinics. And I know it is a lot to fit on a slide. And then solution 3 is incentives for healthcare workers, and then they have their reference slide. So nothing too crazy for this, but you do have to work together on this, because you have to come up with your topic is and what your 3 solutions are. So the good news is a lot of you guys all have a minimum of 4 or 5 people in your group. So there's many ways you can do it. You know, you can all do a certain part for each topic. You can all have your own topic you choose, or 2 in a group and you pick what you want to do for there. But of course, go through it, read it all, make sure that the slides kind of match up and are in sync there. And then this is something I'd love for you to do before the semester even starts. Well, before you start working on your project, is just, if someone in the group, you might think this is silly and elementary, but I promise you that this can really help you if maybe you don't know your teammates and you're in a group with a lot of people who have a lot going on this semester, or just don't want to commit for whatever reason. And this is just a great way to just write what your team is. What are your goals? Do you hope to get everything done an hour before the final presentation? Or do you want to have everything done at least 2 days before the due date, so one person in the group can go through and review it and submit it? What do you want to accomplish? Are you an A student in this class? Or are you just like, I just want to get this done, right? Figure out who you're working with and what you hope to do. What do we expect of one another? Do we expect people to reply to us, to commit equally? Or do you want it more like I'm really good at presenting, and I want to do more of the slides, and I'll create the slides and I will add the images and I'll do a lot of the talking, and someone's more behind the scenes. Like, I love finding research articles and I'll do this and that. So figure out what you want to do with each other. Are you all expected to do 25, 25, 25, 25, or maybe different in some areas? What are some rules we can agree on? So what if, for example, someone doesn't respond to any of your text messages, any of your emails, and it's an hour before the assignment's due, and Amber, I'm just gonna pick on you because you're the first person I see on my screen, and Amber is like, okay, well, I'm in charge of submitting this, and do I wait for them or submit it? Well, they said if they commit nothing, they should get a 0 on it. And unfortunately, we had 2 weeks to work on this and they didn't respond to me once. Tell me, and that person, I can go back to them on the contract and say, well, what was going on during those 2 weeks? If something does happen, something comes up, like, you know, you get, I feel like this year is just terrible with sickness, right? Like we've already had like the stomach flu go through our house and a respiratory illness. So like, hey, maybe if someone is sick, like they need to let the group know, and then they'll maybe agree to carry more weight on the next part of the assignment, right? Like, how are we gonna do this? How will we address non-performance in regard to these goals? So what do you think is fair? If someone doesn't do anything or does a small amount, what do you think is fair? Do you think they should get the same grade? Do you think they should get points off? What do you all agree to? You don't have to submit this anywhere, but I do suggest that you come up with something for this, write it down, come up with your own questions, things like that, and have a copy of it somewhere, write it down, have people sign it. I don't care what you do with this, but this is just something that Chauncey created for students to have, so it's not so challenging for these group projects. And what you will do then at the end of the semester, let's preview this. So this isn't due till May 5th. And what you'll do is you'll just put your team member's name, what their responsibilities are, go through that with all your team members. And then you basically just say at the end, do you feel each person contributed equally to the group? Yes or no? And if no, please elaborate. And so everyone gets 5 points just for completing this survey. And then at the end of the semester, I'll go through these and, you know, let's call on someone else. Say Martha, everyone in her group says Martha did nothing. I don't even think she knows what our topic is, right? And if I see all 4 group members said that, I'll be like, okay, well, I think Martha probably did nothing. She's gonna get 0 points, right? And usually there's never someone, I would definitely question it if only one person said it, no one else did, but it's usually weird. It's like everyone in the group worked perfectly, or there's like one person and everyone's like, they just didn't do anything. So we'll talk about this later in the semester, but I do this for you because it's not fair for the student who has to do everything for the group and get the same grade as the person who does nothing. So hopefully you do find this to be helpful. All right. I'm gonna stop there. I think I shared enough information for the class, but usually for actually let me go to one more thing real quick. Share my screen. Okay, so if you go to syllabus right here, we do not meet every week for this class. Just because a lot of the stuff is in the modules and a lot of the stuff is just project you can work on. So this is a list of the days that we will meet. So we will meet next week and we'll just talk about social determinants of health in the healthcare system. This will be more of a lecture and, you know, a discussion, things like that. Hopefully it'll be more fun. It'll be a good time for you to share updates, how you're doing, what you hope to get out of the class, any questions you have. Then we have 3 weeks off, you know, time to work on your role description assignment, work on your health comparison document. I know that one can be a doozy. I'll talk about that more next week. And sometimes students are like, I didn't realize how much work went into it. And I condensed it from last semester. So it should be easier for you, but you know, time to devote to that. Then we'll have a couple more meetings. And as I said already, these will be recorded. There'll be a YouTube link. So if you are not able to come, please, you will be accountable for things that are said during class. That are recorded. So if you can't come, that's completely fine. I understand that, but make sure you do at least watch the recordings, talk to your group, make sure you're not falling behind with anything there. And then please do mark your calendars for May 7th for the final group presentation. And then that's all I have there. Feel free to ask any questions, stay around if you want to. Technically this class goes till 7 p.m. So this would be a great time to stay around, ask questions about anything or everything, or feel free to leave and go to bed early or take a nap. But it was so nice to meet you all. Who has 5:55 next? Does anyone have that? All right, well, go take a little break. We will meet at 7:15 for that, and completely different layout for that class. So thank you all for coming. I'll stick around if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, have a great Tuesday evening. Take care.